All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Zach, your YouTube foot doctor. Today, we're going to talk about custom versus over-the-counter orthotics and just kind of the best custom molds of orthotics for athletes. Athletes are a little bit different than the general public when it comes to making a custom orthotic. The demands are actually a lot different, and a lot of doctors will, or I should say a lot of companies will try to sell you on some things that maybe aren't the best for you, and sometimes the most expensive isn't always the best. Now, if you're watching this on the replay, I will be going in and time stamping all this because we do have a Q&A section. If you are here live, there is a form down in the description if you want to get your question answered about anything custom orthotics or just anything foot and ankle related, sports medicine for sports. Just put it on down there in that form. We already have 8 questions in the queue right now. So if I don't get to them in this stream, or if you're watching this on the replay too, you can always just leave a comment and I'll come get to it later. So let's get right into it. So the first question is, what is a custom versus an over-the-counter? Or what is custom versus, say, customized? So a custom orthotic is just that. It is made to your foot. Someone is physically putting your foot in foam or plaster, or they're putting you on a force scanner, which means a laser is actually scanning your actual surface area of your foot. Now, that's different than customized or over the counter. Now, if you go to the Dr. Scholl's booth and you put your foot on that little pressure scanner, whatever they want to call it, that they call as a customized orthotic. That is much different than custom. Custom means it's made to your foot. Customized means they take a off-the-shelf orthotic and then they say, okay, well, you're a 73, so that's your custom number. That is not a custom orthotic. Same with the Good Feet store. Those are not custom. They're customized. Now, for the general population, there's not a huge difference between over-the-counter and custom. If you really don't have a really specific issue, if you're just looking for more support, say you're on your feet all day at work, or you're just having a little bit of heel pain or arch strain, then yeah, I mean, it's, hey, White, how's it going? So you really don't need all the bells and whistles that some of the custom orthotics will give you. However, if you're an athlete, let's say you're playing collegiate basketball, or you're playing semi-professional tennis, or even just high school tennis, or you're a track athlete, elite runner, you're going to need something that's just a little bit more rigid. It's going to give you a little bit more customization to your exact needs. The one thing I just want to get across is custom versus customized is a big difference. So do not let anybody tell you, if you're in a drugstore or if you're in a store and someone just scans your foot real quick and then goes in the back and pulls something out, that's not custom. That's an over-the-counter. That's customized. Big difference. Renzo FCB, hey, what's going on? So number one thing with a custom orthotic is the materials to make the shell. So the shell can be made of a few things. Number one, it can be made of an acrylic, which is what we used to use in the 70s. I have one right here. So this right here, up here, this is an acrylic. So this is basically kind of like a really old school way of making them. Now, these are super stiff. Okay, these are super stiff. But what will happen is they'll be really rigid for a while, and then they'll just end up bottoming out really quick. We give these a lot of times to little kids who haven't yet kind of fully formed their foot yet, so they're growing, they're cheap. So you can kind of get through them real quick, but for an athlete, not so great. The next most popular way to make an orthotic is with a carbon fiber or a graphite. Now, graphite is great if you want something that is super razor thin and really kind of lightweight. The bad part about graphite is it's so thin that it's hard to mold to the exact shape of your foot. And they're really stiff. Graphite doesn't move. Carbon fiber does not move. So the only time I'm ever putting graphite or carbon fiber into anybody's shoes is if they're a very elite runner. They are looking for a time, they are being measured within seconds with their when they're trying to get a PR. And so for those people, they will be able to tolerate a graphite, carbon fiber orthotic just because they want it for the performance, whereas something like thermoplastic polyurethane or just plastic can get a little heavier. And so someone that's really putting a premium on it, like I said, within seconds time that you're trying to get, they'll gravitate more toward graphite. But those are the only people I'm putting those in right now. They just are too thin to really customize to the undulations of the bottom of the foot. And the other thing is they're quite expensive to make. And they don't, unlike the acrylics or unlike plastic, over time, the plastics would just start to bottom out. They just won't be doing as much. Whereas graphite, you could be in the middle of a tennis match or a basketball game and it'll just shatter under your foot. And then you're screwed because there's just nothing you can do then. So that's kind of why I don't gravitate more to graphite unless you are a very elite runner. The orthotic that I'm typically gravitating toward right now is just plastic, which is thermopolyurethane, which means, see how thick this can be? Let's see, get it in focus here. There we go. So that orthotic right there is a little thicker than some other orthotics out there. However, you can shave it really easily to just match any little inconsistency in the foot. It'll also flex a little bit. So when that's flexing, you really are able to get a little bit more comfort right off the box. And for someone that's playing tennis or basketball and you're moving side to side, the plastic is just a little bit better because it's just not going to be as annoying on your foot for long. And you don't have to worry about it breaking right away, especially if you're jumping up your serve and coming back down. That's a lot of force coming down on an orthotic. So the next thing is, what do you want your top cover to be? The thing that your foot is actually going to stand on. Now you have a couple options. One that I usually use is just neoprene, just the standard woven neoprene. The reason you want to use something like that that's woven is so that your sock holds on to it. Because if you're using something like this, okay, this is like a leather or a leather composite or like almost like a vinyl. It's really slippery. So even though those they won't smell and they'll last forever, you're going to slide in the shoe. And so that's going to end up giving you like a black toenail, or you can start jamming your big toe joint and start getting early arthritis from those. That's not really something that you want to be going on. And like I said, if you are watching this on the replay, I will be time stamping all this. So if you want to go to certain parts that you're looking for, you can go down as well. And if you do have a question down in the comments, I'm looking at it right now. And I also have the form over here that I'll be looking at. We'll do Q&A in a little bit. So for the size of an orthotic, typically for an athlete, I am always going full length. That means heel to toe. Some orthotics will come like this, which is like half length, okay, which just goes right under the ball of your foot. Or like this one, this is a 3/4 length, which means it will go right up to your toes, which I think are the most annoying. Now, the reason I don't like the half length is because when you're moving around, it'll just shift in the shoe, which again can cause early arthritis, early onset. It can cause jamming in your big toe joint. It's just not really a comfortable experience unless you're using like double-sided tape, Gorilla Glue, and you can glue it directly to the insole and then put your shoe's factory insole over top of it. I actually have seen professionals do that. I do believe, if maybe not now, but I know that Djokovic was using, Novak Djokovic, professional tennis player, for you people that aren't tennis players in the audience, he for a little while. So that's that. So you can use them, but typically you want to stuff the shoe like this so that there's absolutely no way that the shoe that you can move in the shoe. You just want as little micro motion as possible. So hey, Mason, how's it going? He says, what if you don't really need a custom orthotic, but you have blown through your cheap Ortholite insole? What is a good replacement that won't bottom out, is more durable? So yeah, so Ortholite, what he's saying is the typical insole that comes in your shoe. If you have a more expensive tennis shoe, they'll usually put Ortholite in, which is a really soft, plush EVA foam. It's almost like a memory foam. It's really nice, but they do bottom out. Shoes factory insoles bottom out really quick. So if you're just looking for something that you don't really want custom to go through, number one, you can just get standard EVA. You can just get it on Amazon, like a big sheet of EVA or what's called Spenco. And that actually you can just trace along your foot and slide it right in there. If you do a combination, you can actually get like Gorilla Glue or something, and you can do a double stack. You can put Spenco, S-P-E-N-C-O, and then you can put EVA on the bottom or top, and you can actually make yourself a pretty decent insert in there. The other thing you can do is just get a pair of power steps that don't have as much support. So like the smallest power step they make, and throw that in there. This isn't sponsored by Power Step, but you can do that as well. But I have typically, for people that come into my office that say, my shoes and soles are garbage, I don't really want custom, I usually just throw in a piece of EVA or Spenco that I get in a sheet. You can also go look for a diabetic insert, which is basically just a heat molded EVA. You put them in your microwave and you set your foot on it. Hey, Adrian, how's it going? So the next question is are orthotics really necessary at all? You see athletes all over the world using them in every sport. And are they? Do you really need them? And this is something that the podiatry community, foot doctor community, I should say, really goes back and forth on. And the answer is no. They are not necessary. The reason that you see professional athletes use them is because they are trying to have every advantage over the competition. And that means that if you have a custom orthotic, which means the orthotic is just bringing the ground up to your foot, the custom insert, that's all it's doing is bringing the ground up to your arch. And the more that you can prevent an injury from happening in the future, the easier it's going to be on you. It's much easier to prevent the injury than to have it and try to rehab it. So that's why you see professional athletes, because they are on their feet all day. I mean, they're practicing all day and they're putting incredible amount of stress, incredible amount of loads on their foot. And that's sometimes why, sorry, I don't know if this is lagging or not. It might be the internet. But that's why they use them. So if you're only like a weekend warrior, or you don't really never have had foot pain, you don't need one, then I don't see a reason why you would need a custom or over-the-counter orthotic. I usually say don't treat an injury that's not there. Now, if you're a professional athlete, yeah, I usually suggest you do that just to prevent any, there's any thought of anything coming down the road. Plus, a custom orthotic can also save you from early onset arthritis from abnormal motion. So somebody like, let's say, Federer, who's in his late 30s trying to play tennis, well, you better believe he's got orthotics in those shoes, or he has one built into his shoe potentially, because any little bit of excess motion in his foot could lead to early pain, arthritis, and he's off the court and he can't play. So just that little bit of edge is why. But for the weekend warrior, it isn't necessary whatsoever unless you are having pain. Are they good to have in there? Yeah, absolutely. And I think they can benefit most people. If you're somebody like me, I can't stand a custom orthotic. I hate them. And I'm a foot doctor. If anything, I'll put a diabetic insert in my shoes just for comfort for the EVA. But I don't think I've had a custom orthotic in my shoe in the 4 years I played high school tennis, college tennis, taught tennis, I run on the treadmill or doing my videos that I do all the time. There will never be an insert in my shoe. I just can't tolerate them. And I have a really high arch foot. And I have very strong foot muscles. That's just kind of hereditary. I have really bulky foot muscles. And so I just don't need them. Yeah, Mason, no problem. So yeah, with the Asics Gel Resolution 8, and they come with that really thick Ortholite insole. But remember also the Asics Gel Resolution 8 is a tennis shoe. Also comes with that Trustix system on the bottom. So it's holding up all of that foam with come like a polypropylene insert underneath of it. So that shoe has a tremendous amount of arch support as it is. So if you have a shoe like that, or especially like the Adidas Sole Court Boost, if you just go in the Adidas Sole Court Boost barefoot, it's kind of hard to break in at first because it has such a big arch support. So sometimes you don't even need the orthotic in those. So next question, where would you buy a custom orthotic, or who is the best person to make one? Who's the best company? There was someone, I don't know, Jing, I don't know if that's you in the comments, but in the comment section, I had one person who was asking, where do I go to buy the best custom orthotics? Who makes the best, what company makes the best custom orthotics? And that's kind of the wrong question. There really isn't one, unless you're using one of these fly-by-night companies. Okay, sorry about that. I think the internet just went on a little bit there. Yeah, I saw. Sorry, bilateral. Sorry, I decided to switch over to the 5G internet here. Sometimes these can get a little glitchy in the basement. So what was like? So where to buy them? Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that will try to pull the rug over people's heads with customs. Yeah, I'm back. So some people will try to tell you that their company is using these state-of-the-art materials, and they have a pressure laser scanner and this and that. There are people out there that are still using the same foam crush boxes that they bought in 1995, and they still do the exact same job. The only thing that makes a difference is the person that is casting the orthotic. So the real thing is when you go to get your orthotic made, does the person understand your foot? Does it understand the demands that you're going to be putting on the orthotic? What sport are you playing? That's a big one. How big are you? What's your foot shape? The company really doesn't matter. I've had one bad experience with one company, and that was really bad. They were making them way too wide. And so an orthotic usually should bisect your big toe joint. That's usually, and they were like either really too wide for the shoe or they're making them way too narrow. And so they were kind of cutting into the bottom of my foot and patient's foot. So I ended up having to refund like 15 people over this company. They no longer exist. I use Solo. I'm not sponsored by them, but I use Solo just because they have a lot of different products that you can use. And if you go on their website, you can actually search for a doctor in their area that uses them. And I've just found they make a consistent product. Sometimes you got to call them and kind of get on them about, I want a certain size. They'll try to make them a little more flexible than you want them. But it all comes down to the person making them. And so I have seen some online companies that are making them now, and that's fine. The materials seem fine. The only bad part is you're the one scanning yourself. And that's not always a great thing, because when you put the foot in, you want the foot in there in its perfect position. And at least when I scan mine, let's say this is the big toe, I usually jack the big toe up, because when you jack the big toe up, you actually make the arch bigger. And so that kind of gives you a little bit more support under your foot. If you're doing it yourself, a lot of times you step in the box, or when I tell people, okay, do that, then they'll just do this, and then their foot turns, and they have like this really weird orthotic that's made for somebody with like a club foot. So I typically say, go to somebody that deals with sports medicine, that deals with athletes, because if you don't, you can end up with a really bad product. So like I said, the company really doesn't matter. It's just the person doing it for you. Yeah, Solo. Yeah. So the durability of them, how long should they last? If you're using a custom orthotic for sports, let's say you're me, I'm like 5'7.5", like 190 some pounds on a good day. A custom orthotic for me would probably last about 7 to 8 months, a year if I'm lucky, if I get a really thick one. Depends on how thick the shell is. If the shell is really thick, it'll last you a while. The bad part is that the shell is really thick. It's also going to bulk up the shoe more. So you're going to be a little more uncomfortable in the shoe. And there is a such thing as making the orthotic. Yeah. So yeah, there's a such thing as making the shoe a little too bulky, and then you're pressing on the top of it. So I'm not so sure that that's the best part to go. Usually you want to go not the thinnest, but kind of right in the middle, just something to match your body weight. And the physician, they should understand how to make that. That shouldn't be up to you. The physician should understand how to do that. Now, an over-the-counter orthotic, that's really different. If you go and like we've watched my videos about the over-the-counter orthotics, power steps are great. So like if you get the power step right out of the box, it'll hold your arch up like surprisingly well. Even if you're really heavy, you'll put it down. And because I have patients that'll say, this thing's not going to help me. That they're pushing 300 pounds and it's holding their arch up. The only bad part is like 3 weeks later, it's bottoming out. Now, somebody that's an athlete that's using them for running and your gait is really even, they're going to last you a while. It'll probably last you a solid 6 months. If you're playing tennis on them and you jump into your serve, let's say you have like an Andy Roddick type serve where you're really bending your knees, popping both feet up at the same time, and then slamming back down. I mean, maybe 3-4 months. That's it. That's all it's going to last. And same thing with your shoes. Your midsole is going to bottom out too at that point. I don't know if you saw the video, if you guys saw the video about the shoe durability. It depends. If you're not really putting a lot of mass in the shoe, if you weigh like 110 pounds and you play tennis twice a week, they're going to last you forever. Versus if you're someone like me who's making these videos all the time and playing every night, when my wife and my kid go to bed, I bottom out shoes really quick. So I guess it's a good thing I keep buying them. Ashwin, many over-the-counter, hey buddy, many over-the-counter orthotics feels like they are poking into my arch region, which is a bit uncomfortable. Does that mean I need custom orthotics? And will this problem go away if I get custom? So the reason for that is more than likely, so this is a great question. Custom orthotics, I should say over-the-counter orthotics are made for the average foot. Nobody has an average foot. Some people are close. Some people are close to where that arch lays. I'd say, 70, 80% of people lay in that median range. A lot of people, though, lie outside of it. So, like me, I have if you guys see my foot when I take it off and I do the infrared test, you'll see I have a super high arch foot. And my foot is curved in. Okay, it's called metatarsus adductus. I adduct in. That's why I can't stand a lot of orthotics, because I need something really, really soft because my foot just is so stiff as it is. In your case, Ashwin, more than likely, the orthotic is just not hitting you properly. If you did get a custom, you want to make sure the doctor is making it in the appropriate width for your foot, and you want to make sure that it is really contacting, like you just want to make sure it's actually contacting your arch. Because a lot of times what happens is let's say your arch is this high, but the orthotics arch is like only this high, that means that you're going to be bottoming down onto it, and that's going to act almost like as a point into there. And that's why it feels like that, like someone's poking you, because your arch is probably too high for the orthotic. So yeah, a custom will help. How much is it going to help? I'm not sure. In those instances where people are saying, man, over the counters are just terrible for me, those are the people I typically send more toward the diabetic inserts, even if you're not diabetic, and see how those go first. If you like the diabetic inserts, then a good custom will do fine. I found very few people that have a problem with a custom that is made appropriately. So I hope that answers your question. If not, just leave me another comment. So different add-ons to the orthotics, like this is just a standard orthotic right here. So what could you put on here for an athlete that is, that could maybe like boost your game or anything like that? The answer is really simple. If the orthotic is made appropriately to your arch, so if the person casting it casts it appropriately, you don't need to put anything onto them. There is a company out there called Sole Supports. This is not sponsored by Sole Supports. I could care less about the company. But they use a really great idea, which is it's called mass posture. And some of it's a little out there, but the idea is sound. It means you make that shell of the orthotic as high as it possibly can get under the arch. So that means the arch doesn't move at all. And those orthotics do amazing because it is bringing every little piece of the ground up to your foot. So there's like no motion in your foot anymore. Now, the bad part about that is the higher you push your arch up off the ground, the less tactile sensation you're going to have, the less your foot's going to kind of feel, the nerves are going to get real tingly on the bottom of your foot, the less that's going to happen, and you're not going to be able to feel the cord as much. So if you're someone that likes to prowl the baseline and playing tennis, if you're someone in basketball that really prides themselves on great movement and being able to juke people out of the way, that might not be the best type of orthotic for you. If you're a runner, those are amazing because that means every time you strike down, that means your entire foot is contacting at the same time. Even if you're a heel striker, a midfoot striker, or a forefoot striker, it doesn't matter because that whole orthotic is taking all that stress away from you. So as long as your orthotic is built up to your arch, doesn't matter. A lot of times people will try to put these posts in the forefoot under your metatarsal heads, under the ball of your foot. Oh, good. I'm glad I answered you. Under the ball of your foot. Try to post in different ways and do all these different crazy things with it. Remember, the more junk that you add here to the forefoot, the more junk you add there, the less you're going to be able to feel the court, the road, the basketball court, the pavement, whatever. So a lot of times when people sprain their ankles or they sprain their midfoot or they get the Liz Frank sprain that you see a lot of football players use, the reason a lot of football players get Liz Frank injuries is because they're in spikes, and those spikes are really high off the ground. Their foot can't feel the ground, so your brain doesn't know where your foot is in space. And so the foot comes down, the brain thinks, okay, keep going. The brain doesn't say, okay, we got to stop, course correct, and go the other direction. Your body just keeps going, and that's why you see those Liz Frank injuries and a lot of American football players, I should say. So that's kind of that. But so I would say that kind of goes back to the size thing we talked about earlier. I would say for size, make sure it's bisecting in between your big toe joint. The length should be full, but the orthotic shell should only go under your metatarsal heads, which is the ball of your foot like this. So this is what the shell should look like under the metatarsal heads. And then the rest of it should come out to the toes. And so that's that for that. So I am going to go into the comments here from the form. Let me just move this over here since we're at about 25 minutes here. Been going pretty good. All right. There is a form in the description down below. I will refresh this down below. So if you want to put a question there, it's fine. Or you can, I'm looking at the chat. I'll see those questions too. If you have any there, you can always leave it in the chat too. Okay, so the first question comes from Ty, and is it he plays tennis and just general 9 to 5 works at a hospital. So I guess that's just me too. So is it recommended from your experience to put wide foot inserts into the standard with shoes? I have a wide foot or flat arch. It doesn't really matter as long as the orthotic fits into the shoe. Then it really doesn't matter what. Remember, the orthotic should be made to the exact size of your foot. If it's an over-the-counter orthotic made for wide feet, it should still fit in a standard shoe. If it doesn't, you can always just shave this part. That's fine. You can shave that down. But yeah, I really don't see a problem with that. So next question, going into here. Eli plays tennis. Well, I need an orthotic that fits the shoes I have, for example, the GP Turbo. So this is actually a good question. There are some shoes that will accept orthotics better than others. So basketball players are really lucky in this regard because a lot of mid and high top basketball shoes, I mean, there's no way you can't fit an orthotic in there. They're big shoes. So for basketball, it really doesn't matter. For running, a little more. If the ankle collar is really low, then yeah, you should bring your shoes in to fit them because that plate in the orthotic, it's like the plate right here, needs to be thin enough to fit in there and to allow your foot to sit in the shoe without coming out of the shoe. Now in tennis, so you said, for example, I have the GP Turbo. The GP Turbo has a really high heel counter. So you can pretty much put whatever you want in that shoe. As long as you take the factory insert out, you can pretty much put whatever you want in that shoe. Now, if you're going to put an orthotic in a tennis court shoe, the ASICS Gel Resolution 8 is going to be terrible. The original ASICS Solution Speed, terrible, because the heel counter is so low in there. Something even like the Nike Vapor Next with that really flimsy ankle collar or the tongue, if you put an insert in there, remember, your foot's going to start to spread out that neoprene tongue. And then all of a sudden you're like jumping out of the shoe. So you should bring your shoes to the doctor, show them what you're using, especially runners or tennis players that are using more minimalist tennis shoes. For basketball players, I have never seen a basketball player that couldn't fit an insert in their shoe. I have one kid who's around 13 in my practice, and he plays soccer he plays indoor soccer on the turf. And so he's using the really small, thin soccer shoes. And so I have to make those orthotics the same that I would make them for a woman who's putting them in high heels. Because you can make an orthotic for a high heel. It's really hard to do, but you can make one. And with the soccer players, because those shoes are the ankle collar is so low on those shoes, it's ridiculous. I put a same one I put in like a ballerina shoe or in a high heel, but it works. So you can, whatever shoe you're putting on, there is an orthotic that'll fit in there. Just how much, when they start getting really small, how much is it really doing? So yeah, the LeBron 17s, I mean, the LeBron 17s are, you could put a monster truck in there with your foot and that still work. All right. Next question from Kira Farakova, plays tennis. If a shoe is generally low profile and doesn't have a lot of volume inside, how do you fit some of the bulkier, more supportive inserts inside? This is the same question. You don't. You either have to go. So if you have a really low profile shoe, let's say you want to wear the original ASICS Solution Speed, you're going to buy 30 of them before they stop making them, and there is nothing anybody can do to stop you. Fine, whatever. then you probably want to go with graphite or something that's really thin. Just don't get a bulkier insert. You're going to have to go with an insert that is smaller, that is much more rigid. Just know that that orthotic, that's like the graphite or carbon fiber that's really thin, is going to be way harder to break in. It's going to take a lot more time, and there's the potential that it's going to crack. So if you want to put a real bulky, supportive orthotic, like say you went to your doctor and said, just give me the most padding, the most foam you can put in this thing. I want this thing to last for eons. Then you're going to have to wear something like the Solcord Boost, the Diadora Blue Shield 5s. If you're playing basketball, you better be in the Kyrie 7s, something that's higher top. If you're a runner, you better be in something like the Brooks Beast, the New Balance 840. Don't think you're going to be in the Vaporfly Next Percents and you're going to have this giant orthotic. I mean, you're going to end up giving yourself Achilles tendonitis just because you're slamming down the shoe because your heel's popping up. Just hydrate real quick. All right, so Terrence, hey, how's it going? Advice for orthotics feeling heavy. I feel my orthotics make me feel like I'm wearing cinder blocks and slow around the court. So Terrence, I'll look down in the comments, but if you tell me what material orthotics are made out of, if they're made out of a thicker plastic or not, let me know. But I would say, if they're feeling heavy, number one, you can get a thinner orthotic made from, I got all these orthotics down here, made from plastic. Just know that they're not going to last you as long. And so that will last you a whole lot longer. Or I should say, it'll be a lot more comfortable. It won't last you as long. I'm getting my words tied talking about orthotics too much tonight after talking about orthotics all day in my practice. The other option is to get carbon fiber orthotics. And then with the carbon fiber, you can actually see on these, I don't know if my camera's got a low enough f-stop, but if you can see all this padding under here. I ripped these apart today just for this live stream to show you. See all this foam in here? This is EVA under here that was glued on. So you can always have them modified with some foam underneath of them to make them a little more comfortable with the graphite. But I would say if you're feeling heavy, then I would go to the graphite because, I mean, these things are like feather light. Just know that there is a chance these will crack versus the plastic, which won't. Bilal Tennis is saying, I'm waiting for my Solcord Boost to get in. Yeah, I mean, just remember with the Solcord Boost, they are going to be a little bit longer of a break-in in the arch. You might develop a blister under your arch for a little while, but they do feel amazing afterwards. Yeah, of course. No problem. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, they're foam. Terrence says they're foam. They said they give me a basketball orthotic because it has more lateral support for tennis. Who gave that to you? Let me know, and just you can just leave another comment. Let me know who gave it to you. So that actually as an awesome comment, because that brings up another thing, is that companies will say this is a running orthotic or this is a tennis orthotic. There's actually, I saw a company on Instagram when I was perusing there about these are made specifically for tennis. I don't know what that means. They are made from like tennis ball felt. I mean, that actually would be pretty cool. But most orthotics, as long as there's only a few things you can put in an orthotic that would help you for tennis. One would be to make it really stiff under the big toe joint so that when you serve, you get a better cantilever. And so when you jump up, you'll get a little bit more height, like on your serve test. Like my normal serve test, if I jump for a serve, I get like on average like 27, 26 centimeters. That would maybe give you, I don't know, maybe under the low 30s. So if you put a real stiff piece of plastic right under the big toe joint. But other than that, I mean, I'm not sure, some of these companies are making some weird things. So let me see here. Yeah, let me know what company said that for making a basketball specific orthotic. Lateral support in the orthotic comes from, number one, how flat the heel is. So if the heel is flat and wide, it'll really support you going side to side. I actually don't even have one of these on me. I should have brought one. But if you put an orthotic in your shoe that has an external post here, which means they'll actually put this big piece of rubber on the bottom and cork. It's made of rubber and cork. And it's called an external heel post. That'll make your orthotic super side to side stable. I never put them on because it bulks the orthotic up too much, but you can put an external heel post on there. You can ask your doctor if you really want the most. So if you are playing basketball and you're in a high top tennis shoe, say you're in the Sticon for tennis, you can get an orthotic with a really wide external heel post. That orthotic won't move anywhere. Just know it's going to lift you up off the ground more too, and that might get a little annoying. Renzo FCB, any suggestions for the Adidas Supersonic 4? Just bought them, haven't played in them yet, but feel kind of opposite to the Resolution 8. Yeah, the Adidas Supersonic 4 is probably the exact opposite shoe of the Asics Gel Resolution 8. The Asics Gel Resolution 8 is meant to give you side-to-side stability and the most foam that you can get in a shoe that's not considered a maximalist shoe. If I were you on the Ubersonic 4, I would make sure that you have some sort of insert in those, just so you don't bottom out the forefoot. I like the Ubersonic 4 more than the Gel Resolution 8 for tennis, or for pickleball or basketball, whatever you're playing them in, just because they're a little more secure on my foot and I don't come out of them. However, I did actually try a pair of my dad's Gel Resolution 8s, which he's broken in over the last 3 months, and my heel wasn't slipping out of them at all. The only bad part is he had bottomed out the midsole more than a new pair, so they weren't going to be as good in the long run. But eventually, you will break those the Gel Resolution 8s in. But if you're in the Ubersonic 4, they feel great. They're super nimble. They're super fast. I mean, for a player's shoe, they're amazing. They're kind of like the old Nike Air Oscillates, but just with some like new tech. They're a little bit more durable. So just put an insert in them and you should be fine. Just know that they're going to bottom out a little faster than something like the Gel Resolution 8. All right, let's see what the next question is. Are there any softer orthotics for sports? Troy Seth, thanks for the question. Yeah. So if you're playing sports and you need an orthotic that's going to last, so if you want a soft orthotic for sports that's going to last, that just doesn't really exist. You can get, if you go to any podiatrist that's that does diabetic shoes. So if you go on their website and click and say, do they do diabetic shoes, or call them and say, hey, do you guys do diabetic shoes? Just call and say, I need 3 pairs of diabetic inserts in this size. Those are going to last you the longest because a diabetic insert is meant for somebody that's putting a lot of pressure. They're usually made for people a little heavier, putting a lot of pressure on their foot, and they're meant to prevent ulcers or sores on the bottom of the foot. And so if they can help prevent those, they can certainly, stand the test of time on your foot playing tennis or sport or basketball, running, pickleball, whatever. They usually come 3 to a pack. So they'll last you probably a solid 8 months. You can get 3 of them. If you're playing a lot, they'll last you a solid 3 months. The next option is to just get a regular custom orthotic with a plastic shell, a polypropylene shell, and then just pad the living daylights out of it. Get the 1/8-inch EVA, or that'd be like a 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter EVA, get Spenco on top of it, put some rubber molds in there, and just really just pad the living daylights out of it. You can pad up the stiffest orthotic and make it feel like it's super plush. The only bad part is, same thing with adding all kind of junk to the orthotic too, is that you're not going to be able to feel the court. You won't be able to feel the basketball court, the pickleball court, the tennis court. Or if you're a runner, it'll be hard to kind of feel the ground. It's not as big of a deal for a runner. But if you're a sprinter, it is. You got to feel that track if you're a sprinter. Or a cross-country runner, if you're, say, you're a high school cross-country or collegiate cross-country runner, and you're in the muck all the time, you're in boggy, wet conditions. You know how many people I've seen run cross-country that have torn their posterior tibial tendon or their peroneal tendon, those are the tendons on the side of your ankle, or have ruptured their plantar fascia or have sprained their ankle because they get into some weird area where there's undulating hills and they just roll their ankle. I just saw that last week. Some like 15-year-old kid was running through the woods, just stepped on a little tree branch and had this crazy orthotic somebody made from that, had his foot up this high because they were told that's what you need. And now the kid's done for like 6 to 8 weeks. So if you're going to go for a softer orthotic, I would say just look for a diabetic insert. Look for someone that makes diabetic inserts. They're made from 2 companies that I know of. One is Dr. Comfort. One is ProPet, PROPET. Those are the 2 companies that make them. You can always go on their website and see if you can buy them directly from their website, or you can just go to your local podiatrist who does diabetic shoes. Terrence, it's a custom one. My foot was scanned. It has a mesh upper for breathability. Company called AOI. I got to check that out. I'd have to look at that to make sure that kind of what they're doing. It could be that the mesh upper, like I said, if you want to also PM me on Instagram, I'm at tennisprodoc, all one word, no spaces. You can just send me a picture of it. I'm not on Instagram all the time, but when I get to it, I will. I'll look at it. Oats and goats. Hey, how's it going? One of my pinky toes is rotated slightly outward, so it's a bit on the side. Not usually an issue, but doing something like jogging in the balls of my feet at home with no shoe feels worse. Is it fine to leave it alone, or it might get worse? Jogging in place in the balls of my feet at home with no shoes feels worse. I really don't know. It depends. I'd have to look at an X-ray of your foot and actually manually move it. I would say I usually don't like it when people are barefoot anything for a long period of time. So if you're jogging in place at home with no shoe, maybe just try to put shoes on. That's probably what I would tell somebody. But it kind of depends on the level of deformity. I would say get an X-ray from your local doctor, see what they have to say. It just depends. A lot of times I see patients that come in and say, well, when I do this, some guy is out in his garden. This guy's had a history of all sorts of stress fractures, and he's out on the pavement in his planters planting flowers. He's like, well, it really hurts that I'm out there barefoot. And it was like 80 degrees the other day, and the asphalt and concrete super hot. And I burn my foot every time I do it. How do I prevent that? Well, put shoes on. So that's kind of saying that's a little different than your situation. Because I know a lot of people like to work out barefoot just to improve their foot muscles. But I would just try not doing it at first. That's usually what I tell people. But I don't really know. I'd have to look at an X-ray of your foot to see if you've got a progressive deformity. But to start with, I'd just probably try with shoes. But obviously, this is not personal medical advice. I probably have to give that disclaimer. This is all for entertainment purposes only. Would it be okay to not wear my orthotic when I'm playing tennis for my Adidas Sole Court Boost when they come? Same for the Gel Resolution 8. That's from Bilal Tennis. It just depends. If you don't have any pain and you're comfortable in the shoes, you feel better without them, then at least, like I said, for me, I don't wear orthotics in my tennis shoes. I've never worn them. I don't like them. I don't like the way they feel. I know what they're supposed to feel like, and I know why people like them, and I'm a foot doctor, so it's a little bit hypocritical of me not to wear them, but I don't wear them. And in the Sole Court Boost, it has such a high arch in them. I would say just do what is comfortable. Here's the thing though, if it's someone that's used to wearing custom orthotics, then you might experience some pain when you're out of them. And like I said, in my opinion, it doesn't hurt using custom orthotics aren't going to hurt you. So it's really your preference. To see how it goes. If your foot starts hurting when you're out of them and you start getting strained, then maybe that's your answer. But I would test it and see, just kind of see what's best for you. It's hard to tell without actually looking at your feet. Bruce Ree, hey doc, is there any chance you ever try the Velcro? I'm not sure. It's Victory. I'm 3 weeks in and I have no injuries that I've been getting. Also, my legs are not as tight as before. So those Victory ones run about like $200. Those ones they're like the carbon fiber ones that run like $200. If they sent them to me, I'd probably try. The only bad part is for a over-the-counter orthotic that costs that much money. I have a hard time. I have a hard time, selling it or reviewing it to somebody and telling them to get it, unless they were custom. So like in my area, in Western Pennsylvania, most doctors this is a fully customized orthotic that I made. This is one of my wife's, fully customized orthotic. Usually runs around anywhere between $250 and $350. If you live in California, they're going to run about $500. I know a bunch of doctors in Seattle. They're charging $300-$400 for them, but in my area, it's about $250. And so for me to like an over-the-counter orthotic as much it better be really cheap. Now, these might not be the same ones you're talking about with the Victories, but I know somebody was asking me about them in the comment section of one of my videos about them, and I looked, and I think it was those, and they were quite a bit of money for anything. They said, because they said they were carbon fiber and they were light and they were really nice. Like I said, if they sent them to me, I would love to try them. I'd love to be proved wrong. The more options that I can give patients in my office, and you guys too. I mean, you guys are like a second family out there. All like tennis and basketball and run these crazy athletes out there that are trying to just crazy about performance. I'd love one more thing to give to you guys and to recommend. As of right now, I have another over-the-counter orthotic video planned for almost like exactly a year since I did the first one, which will be like June, July-ish. So if I get one in my hands before then, I will certainly review it and try it. Because like I said, I would love to see like what it's all about. And I will get back to the questionnaire form too. I'm sorry. I know, Kira, I kind of left you hanging there. But I will get back to the questionnaire form, but just getting a lot of great questions in here that we're going. So Troy said he messed his feet up with the 5 fingers. This is interesting with 5 fingers. I could never wear 5 fingers because I have a super high arch. I'd end up with a stress fracture, or I'd end up busting through my midfoot. I'd end up dislocating a joint. I have a buddy who is an Air Force pilot. He flies the Osprey, which is that helicopter that has the tilt rotor engine. And he flies right now. He actually is training people. He flies through volcanoes, and he runs marathons and Ironmans only in 5 fingers. I got him to go into the vapor flies just to try to give him something under his foot. However, he's an Air Force pilot. He has been training to be an Air Force pilot since we were, 14. And so his leg and foot muscles look like tanks. And so he has broken so many bones in his feet and legs. I can't even tell you. But he also has developed, a lot of muscle memory down there. And so for him, 5 fingers are great because he likes feeling the ground. He likes more of that minimalist. And he's trained himself to do it over years and years and years. I haven't, I haven't been in survival training for like 4 years, So I think for the, no, I wouldn't say the average athlete, but for someone that hasn't trained specifically for barefoot or minimalist running, I don't love 5 fingers. I think if you are going to do any type of training in barefoot, instead of just doing it barefoot, like when I did the barefoot for tennis, like is barefoot tennis a thing video, I should have bought a pair of 5 fingers to do that. I just went in my bare feet just to prove a point, and it made for a good video. But in all honesty, if you're going to do it, you should put some rubber under your foot just so you don't scratch up the bottom of your foot. But yeah, you can tear your feet apart. And 5 fingers was a big thing, back in like the early 2000s, like everybody was trying them. This was before I was a physician, so I really didn't get a chance to see all the carnage from that. But I did see all the carnage from when the rocker bottom shoes from Skechers came out, and everyone was getting plantar fasciitis from those. So, there's always a gimmick. Like every few years there comes out like a gimmick shoe. The 5 fingers isn't a gimmick, but people have used it so much it kind of like became a meme for a while in like the foot dog community. DK Lure, sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Great channel, thank you. I have constant blisters. No matter how much callus I build or their orthotics, it will help with blisters. Yeah. So it depends on what's causing them. Your blisters might be getting caused from a few things. 1, athlete's foot. 2, excessive sweating. 3, excessive motion in the shoe, or wearing shoes and orthotics that don't fit properly. I couldn't tell you specifically in your case. You'd probably have to, see a doctor in your area. Like I said, also disclaimer, none of this is private personal medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, and this is only my opinion. But in terms of blisters, I typically, 9 times out of 10, someone comes in my office with blisters, it's because they're excessively sweating. They developed athlete's foot because of that. The athlete's foot is causing the blister. If you treat the athlete's foot, treat the cause of the excessive sweating, they go away. So it may have nothing to do with the orthotics or the shoes or anything like that. You also might be moving too much in the shoe. So you might want to go to like a more minimalist shoe in that regard that just kind of fits your foot like a glove more. And also you may want to go to a shoe that's bigger if you're rubbing too much. So I would, if I were you, I would probably take your shoes to a foot doctor in your area that deals with athletes and just say, okay, it's one of these three things. Can you just check me for those three things? And they could probably get you from there. Let me just go back up in the chat. I'm getting a few comments here. Hey, Zach, if I wanted more support for tennis, should I use extra loopholes on the top? I have the sole court boost. It depends. If you want to do the cat's cradle, I always call it cat's cradle. People get all angry at me in the comments of my videos. It's the runner's knot. It's called a runner's knot. If you look at my A6 Gel Resolution 8 clay video, that cat's cradle technique that I show there, where I do a loop-de-loop in there, that will give you more support in your ankle. It's not going to give you more support in your midfoot. If you want more support in your midfoot, you need a shoe that has more tie downs in the midfoot. So if you look at the last video I did, which was on the Yonex Fusion Rev 4s, the Yonex Fusion Rev 4s with those tabs in the midfoot, they give you the best tie down in the midfoot. But then in the ankle, it's super loose. So you'd have to use the cat's cradle technique in there or have to really tie it down. So it kind of depends. If you want more support in the ankle, yes. More support in the midfoot, no. Actually, I have 3 tennis shoes. If I play in one of them for about 2 to 3 hours, my back feels stiff later. Minimalist shoe, but not the other tennis shoes from a different brand. Curious to know why that might be. It doesn't have enough support in the heel. I forget which video. I think it's the best shoes for every foot type game style and that where I'm like doing like this with the shoes. In terms of your back, knees or hips, or even spine, neck, if it's a shoe that's more minimalist and doesn't have as much foam, let's say you bought a pair of Ubersonic 4s and you wore them for 6 months and all of a sudden the light strike foam is just bottomed out, your back's going to kill you. The more resilient the foam in the heel, the less your back's going to hurt in most cases. So I would say I'd just stay away from the minimalist shoes if you know that's the problem, because it kind of seems like you did your own little test there. And so if for anybody, any back issues, you got to go with a more maximalist shoe. I was having insane back issues right before I started this channel last year. So this was pre-pandemic. I was wearing a pair of like Wilson Rush Pros, and I hadn't been playing a lot of tennis. Just I was really busy at work. I just had a baby. My wife and I were, trying to build up. We had joined a practice, a bunch of people, and so it was, we were, busy. So I haven't been playing tennis. And I had just worn them forever and they just bottomed out. And I was having this crazy back pain. I was using the Theragun. I was rolling my back. And I thought to myself, I'm done playing tennis. I was gaining more weight than I already had. Went to the sole court boost, went away. So that's probably I would say that's usually my answer. Okay. Sorry, I got to scroll up here. I'm getting a lot of questions here. 2 pairs of sole court boost and 1 cage 4 foot comfort. Yeah. I mean, I tend to go more toward the sole court boost than the cage 4 just because of that 2-piece tongue. I hate that 2-piece tongue. But if you're a tennis teaching pro, or you're like a basketball coach and you're looking for a shoe that's going to prevent you from having ball of foot pain, the Vapor Cage 4 is probably the best shoe out there for that, because that huge Zoom Air unit in the forefoot, as well as that giant stack of Nike foam in the back. Loves Gadgets. Hey, Zach, love your videos. Thank you very much. My question, I use the Superfeet carbon insole for flat feet and plantar fasciitis, but lately been thinking they could be too hard and could have contributed to a calf strain. What do you think? Anything's possible. Typically, calf strains are due to the calf muscle being way too cold, or you having excessively tight hamstring or calf string. So I wouldn't think so. It could be your foot might not like those. It would depend. Like if you got the calf strain immediately when you started using them, then there might be something to that. But typically typically that stuff is a coincidence. I wear them in the Vapor X. Or remember, the Vapor X pronates a ton, right? So if you're using the Vapor X, right, for anything, tennis, basketball, pickleball, whatever, your foot's doing this all the time. This is the inside of your foot, just doing this all the time. Now for me, that's great because I have a really high arch foot and I love that flex. And I feel like I have a little bit more give in the shoe. For someone with a flat foot or a neutral foot, you might hate that and that might be causing it. David, hey, how's it going? Troy Seth, barefoot is good in spurts, builds the muscles. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why when I was playing barefoot tennis in that video, I said, this is fantastic for 5 to 7 minutes. It's not great for 10, 15 minutes. It's great for 5 to 7 minutes. And it's good to see just how lazy you are. Cause I thought, like I'm making these videos, I have my, my camera, which is like a 4K camera on the ground behind me. So I'm always conscious of the camera behind me. And I'm like, okay, I got to be bouncing up and down. I can't look like I'm like this lazy old man playing tennis for these videos. Like I have to look like I'm somewhat youthful. And I go back and I look at how I was playing when I was barefoot, and that is like good footwork. And then I go back and look at the other videos where I'm just in shoes. I'm like, oh my God, like I am the laziest tennis player. No wonder there's people in the comment section saying like I suck at tennis and this and that. Like, I mean, like, yeah, maybe they're right. So it is good just to see how good your footwork is. If there's no difference between you barefoot and in shoes, then great. You are one of the 10% that has amazing, amazing footwork. But yeah, if you're like me, then yeah, you're going to find out how lazy you really are. John Appleseed, hey, how do you feel about Nike Zoom X foam cushion? I feel it's the best ever from Nike running, and I'm just disappointed that Nike doesn't put it in more shoes. Yeah, this is an awesome comment. Zoom X should be in every shoe. Zoom X foam is amazing. So Zoom X is kind of like React. It's not React, but it's a hybrid foam. So it's going to give you like the elasticity. Sorry, my mic's kind of falling here. It's going to give you the elasticity of like something like a plastic. It's going to give you more of the accommodation of something like EVA. So it's basically like making boost and bounce foam and just stuffing them into a shoe together. So yes, I agree. They put Zoom X in like all their best running shoes, and then they didn't think to tailor it to their tennis shoes. Like the Nike Vapor Next has that little bit of React foam. Like if you watch the teardown, that little bit of React foam in the middle, then it's just Nike foam, the rest of it. Like the shoe's $160 or whatever. Like that shoe should have had Zoom X foam in it. It should have had a much stronger upper, so yes, I think, Nike's making a huge mistake not putting more Zoom X on their shoes. They may have done tests that show that the shear strength of it isn't all that great. Come on. I mean, I think you at least got to try it. Because yeah, Zoom X is I mean, I get on Nike a lot for things just because they test a lot of things out, and some things work, some things don't. But they got to try Zoom X on their shoes. Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I could help you. Thank you, Oats and Goats. Thank you. I'm not some crazy barefoot hot asphalt runner guy. I know a few of them. I know a few of them, and I don't know how they're not stepping on needles and pine cones and stuff, but just working out at home for now and don't wear shoes indoors. Shoes definitely help. Learn lots from your channel. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad you're getting something out of it. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I do barefoot stuff too. During the pandemic, I was doing everything barefoot in the house. During the pandemic, when we were on lockdown, I did for those people here in the chat who are tennis players, and if you're not, check her out. Alina Svitolina is a tennis player, and she was doing Instagram yoga and like Pilates, like calisthenics workouts at home every day. And she was just like, you could do them along with her. And so I would do her workouts with her on Instagram every day. And I was doing them barefoot and everything. And I noticed after that, my footwork was so much better. And I'm thinking like, this is kind of a gimmick, but I'll do it. Just, something to do. I really, there wasn't much else to do. So I was doing that with her. And then they were great, and they were improving my footwork so much. Just then I got lazy, went back to work, and started eating again. So David Lee, the Nike Vapor X in an 8.5, never found a shoe that fit my foot like a glove. Only thing is I burned a hole through the outsole outside in 2 weeks. What do you recommend for similar fit, more durability? The Vapor Pro is a good option. Also, the Solution Speed FF2 is a good option. The Solution Speed FF2 is the Nike Vapor 10. Basically just better. It's just more streamlined. It depends. If you wore the hole out from the inside out, that means it's a problem with your foot. That means you need an insert in your shoe, or you have abnormal motion. So you might want to talk to a doctor about that. If you're wearing it from the outside in, like it's just burning through, yeah, Solution Speed FF2. The Vapor Pro's got a much more durable shell on there. Yeah, I'll tell you, Nike hit a home run with the Vapor Pro. People are telling me I'm wrong. I love that shoe. Another option would be the Onyx, the Fusion Rev 4s. The only bad thing is if you have a thin ankle or a thin heel, it's going to move around a lot. But if you don't, if you have a wider heel or a wider ankle, the Fusion Rev 4s are insanely durable. Okay, let me go up here. Get some questions here. Okay, what is your take on the Defiant Generation multi-court tennis shoes from Asics? I think that, I mean, Adidas, Defiant Generation, I think is Adidas, B-Man. Bought them and they feel great for a canvas shoe. Sole is fine. I'm looking for soft sole athlete as a replacement soon. So the Defiant Generation is good. I believe Garabine Muguruza uses them to work out in the gym. So I think they're great. I was going to play test them last year. And then we couldn't find them during the pandemic. And then I kind of thought they were going to change them. I thought they were going to change the line for 2021, and then they ended up not. So I will check them out more. I haven't gotten much use of them yet. I tested them for a little bit, but not enough to like actually make an intelligent comment about them. So if you want to PM me on Instagram when I do the video and stuff, we can talk about it there. We can talk about it more there too. Hey, Zach from Algeria, your channel is fantastic. Hey, thanks, Mika. Hey, I've seen in the comments a bunch. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Loves gadgets. Oh my God. You blew my mind with a Nike Vapor X pronation tip. That could be it. And yes, I'm already prone to tight calves. Yeah, the Vapor 10 is an amazing player shoe. It's one of the best shoes Nike has ever created for professional tennis players. That's why you see a bunch of professionals using it, because they have custom inserts in them. So if you have a custom insert that's pretty strong, like this, yeah, it's awesome. But if you pronate a lot, you have a flat foot, it might cause some problems. I'm also lazy with my feet. Yeah, we all are. Do you know what Zoom X is composed of? I don't know the exact chemical makeup off the top of my head. It is a combination of open and closed cell foams. I think there is some thermoplastics in there with EVA. I have to look. I'm doing a video on Zoom X. I think it's Zoom X versus Flight Foam. It's on the list, so I'll get into it in a video coming up. I can't think it off the top of my head. I've been doing so many of the shoe foam videos. I've been banking them for later, so I'm not positive, but I know it is a combination of closed and open cell foams. It's a hybrid, just like React Foam's a hybrid. Loves and gadgets. As a follow-up, would a shoe like a GP? I'm sorry, I need to hydrate. As a follow-up, would a shoe like a GP Turbo be better for me when I return to court from a calf strain rehabbing course? In your individual case, just match the shoe to your foot. But I will say something like the GP Turbo that has a giant, thick Zoom Air unit, then an airbag is going to give you much more shock absorption. Same thing like the Adidas SoleCourt Boost or the Diadora Blue Shield 5s or 4s are going to give you a lot more shock absorption. So the more foam you can put between you and the ground, the better. So we are coming up about 1 hour, so I'm going to be closing the stream down as soon as I get to these questions here. So I will be closing up pretty soon, but I'll make sure I get to the rest of these questions. Elinas Fidelina. Oh, my Tom. That's my dad. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, thank you. My dad's in the chat. So for those of you who don't know, there's usually two people that I'm playing against if I'm playing tennis. One of them is Mike Ridner. He works at Glen Creek Tennis Center. If you want to check him out, you can go on I think it's glencreektennis.com or just type in Glen Creek. He's one of them. He's a former professional, and he's usually the one that's just beating living daylights out of me. He was like a 6'5" player. I mean, he was like incredible. And the other person is my dad on the other side. My dad is 30 years older than me, and he still gives me he hits a cleaner ball than just about anybody I hit with. So when you're watching a lot of the videos where he's just like blowing shots past me, just make sure you look out for those, because typically a lot of the funny scenes I'll show, it's my dad just blowing shots past me. So he's usually the one in the background. There's not a lot of people that will usually play with me that can put up. I have 3 cameras going at all times when I play. And if a point goes really well, I'll stop all the cameras so I'll know when to stop the camera. And in a lot of the videos I've been doing now, I actually do live commentary on the shoes while I'm playing in them, because I kind of like to give my live thoughts on them. I think it's just a little more genuine. And he'll just sit there and just wait for me to talk. Like I'm just sitting there talking to nobody. And if anybody here plays the tennis center that I'm at, I know there's a few people that watch this that play at the tennis center that I'm at. I'll go to the camera and I'll be talking to the camera, and there'll always be some guy walking behind me during the shot, and I'm speaking into the camera, and I'm maybe 30 seconds into a segment, like where I'm saying everything perfectly, and like I'm kind of getting my words right, and there's some guy, who you talking to? Who is that? And then he just ruined the shot. So just props to my dad for just sticking back there and being patient with me while I go, I just do take after take after take, doing that. So yeah, thanks, Dad. Yeah. Terrence, do orthotics affect the Zoom Air unit and the GP Turbo? No, the Zoom Air unit will affect the orthotic. I actually have a video coming out on Zoom Air next week. Just is it a gimmick or not, and kind of what does it do? So make sure you check that out. But no, the Zoom Air unit, it's hard for you to affect the Zoom Air unit because it's a closed system. That's what makes it such an interesting technology. The airbag on top of the GP Turbo will make it almost feel like you're in a waterbed if you have an orthotic on top of it. So if you do have an orthotic in the GP Turbo, it should be pretty thick, so you kind of negate the waterbed feeling of that. But no, the Zoom Air unit will not affect it. It'll affect you. It'll make you feel a little more springy in it. Al, hey doc, funny question. I hope that's Al, not AI. Al, funny question. Is there any basketball shoe you'd recommend for tennis? I like the style a little more, but I don't know which one to give a try. Yeah. The new Jordans, I don't like. I forget what number they are. Forgive me. However, the Kyrie 7s, although they might not be as durable as some tennis shoes on an outdoor court, the Kyrie 7s are awesome tennis shoes. They're not going to give you the front to back speed. So because they're higher top and the collar is really thick to prevent you from getting a basketball foot, that's a thing, a basketball foot. If you're a baseliner, or if you're an all quarter, or if you're just a serve +1, you serve and you try to bash the ball right from there, great. If you're a serve and volleyer, you probably, basketball shoes aren't going to be the best thing for you. But if you're not, yeah, I would start with the Kyrie 7s. Right now on the Nike app, if you're on your phone, you can get a really discounted pair of the Kyrie 7s in like an older colorway. They have every size available. They're discounted. Check those out. The treads on them are not very thick, but while they're new, they grip everything. They'll grip ice. Don't do that. That's not advice. But yeah, they'll grip pretty much everything. So yeah, I try the Kyrie 7s. They're really cool. Yeah, Terrence, no problem. All right, I am going to get through the last 2 questions here on the form. So we went through this, and then we started getting questions in the chat, and then we kind of just started hanging out. So is a shoe generally low profile, doesn't have the volume inside? How do you fit some of the bulkier? Yeah, so like we were talking, just make sure, I would say go with carbon fiber or get a smaller, thinner plastic in that, or just get a more maximalist shoe. Leo Ramirez plays tennis. Is it better to play with or without custom orthotics? I found very customizable shoes in the Adidas Supersonic 4, and they are more comfortable without an arch support as they dig into my arches. If it's me, like I said, I can't give you specific advice because this isn't specific advice. This is for entertainment. If it's me, and they're more comfortable without them, unless you're nursing a chronic injury, typically I'm telling people do what's comfortable. So just wear them without. Just remember on the Ubersonic 4s, are going to bottom out in the forefoot. So over time, you'll probably want to put that insert in there because they'll bottom out, or at least put like something foam in them, like put a piece of EVA in them or a piece of Spenco in them, just to get your foot a little bit more off the ground so you don't bottom out the shoe. They're expensive shoes and they work really well. They just sometimes they'll bottom out faster than others. Bruce Ree plays tennis. I've seen other pro sports, basketball, football, soccer, baseball, are frequently talked about in other YouTube channels and how it makes a big difference for injury prevention. Injury after experience it, and watching your vid starts from the feet up and playing with terrible insoles will affect how frequent one gets injured. Sometimes, yeah. My question is, why do top players in tennis use custom orthotics or insoles to improve performance and never mention it to people like us? I.e. Djokovic taking out his insoles before giving them his shoes away. I feel like having proper insoles has elongated my time on court with less injury and proper transfer of kinetic energy. I never thought insoles mattered, but it really affects how a person plays. How come you're the only one providing this knowledge and science? Well, I'm the only one, I guess I'm the only foot doctor that still wants to play tennis and basketball and run and stuff all the time. But thanks for your question. Yeah. So there's a certain thing is, like, you don't want to provide aid and comfort to your competitors. So a lot of professionals like won't talk about what they do in terms of, like, if you've ever seen, it doesn't matter, European football or soccer, American football, baseball, hockey, whatever, they'll say this person had a lower body injury and they may be out for 2 to 3 weeks. What does that mean? So, a lot of times they just don't want to tell you what they're doing for their shoes. Like if you look at Federer's shoes, he has that really thick shank in the way we used to play with the Vapor 10s, now with the Ons. That shank when he's in his 30s is helping him serve, right? It's giving him a more rigid cantilever to serve in. So a lot of times they just don't want to talk about it because they feel like that's like their trade secret. And that's usually it. People just don't want their trade secrets. And sometimes a lot of people aren't, this is a niche topic. I mean, how many people, in the world really care about a custom orthotic to improve your performance playing in like court sports and running? I mean, so it is a niche topic. So, I just might be, I just might be the one that comes around that, has the same interest as you. Name Willis. Hey, Willis, plays tennis. Is there any inserts or modifications to prevent heel lift? Yeah, the runner's knot. You can look that up in anything. In my A6 Gel Resolution 8 clay video, I show you how to make a runner's knot. That's the best modification, at least from me. And name Thomas. What sports do you need inserts for? He plays tennis. What socks are better in place of orthotic inserts, crew or no show? If you don't want to wear an orthotic, it doesn't really matter. I typically say if you're going to be playing a lot of sports, like if you're running, 4 days a week, you're trying to do like 100-mile week, or you play tennis 4 days a week, you play basketball every day, you play and pick up games every night after school or work. You say get a padded pair of socks or wear two. I don't like no-show socks at all. Number one, you can rub blisters. Number two, sweat is going to pour into your shoe, whereas a crew sock will hold sweat down on your leg, and it'll kind of hold it into the leg area and it won't let it get into your shoe, so you won't blister as much. But in terms of socks and orthotics, I don't think it really matters. But I just, in general, for sports, I always go with a crew sock. It just helps prevent different things. And Michael Els plays tennis. Do stiffer orthotics impede the motion of something like the Air Zoom unit in the GP Turbo? No. That may have been the same question from the chat, but no. The Zoom Air unit is Zoom Air is. There's certain things that Zoom Air will do and certain things Zoom Air will not do. So no, I would say there's really no correlation between the orthotic and the Zoom Air unit. Like I said, the Zoom Air unit will affect you and the orthotic, but there's not much you can do to affect the closed system of the Zoom Air. Okay. Yeah, Santiago, thanks. I'm trying to give as many accurate facts as I can tonight. Sorry if I'm murdering your name, but Vishan or Vishanth, sorry. Which shoes would be good replacements for Ubersonic 4s, or should I get them again? It depends. If you liked them, get them again. However, if you're buying another pair already, that probably means they've bottomed out pretty quick. It's been, okay, a little follow-up here. It's been 4 months and I've been playing at least 3 times a week. I'm also a heavy slider. They aren't completely worn out yet, but just asking more for future reference. Okay. I would say shoes similar to the Adidas Ubersonic 4 that are going to give you more durability. The Adidas Sole Court Boost. That's a lot heavier, so you might not want that. The A6 Solution Speed FF2. The A6 Gel Resolution 8. The Nike Vapor Pro. I'd say those are probably the ones I'd go with that are the most similar. The Adidas Ubersonic 4, though, is a pretty unique shoe. And so if you've had great success with it, they're already starting to discount the old colorways I've seen. So you can always try that. Yeah, kind of see the other side. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and my wife and I are packing for vacation tonight, so I got to get out of here before she starts getting pretty angry at me. Yeah, thanks for Bye Loud Tennis. Thanks for everything. I'll keep you updated on the Sole Court Boost. Yeah, please do. Here's the thing. For anybody here in the chat or anybody that's watching this on the replay, remember, I will try to timestamp all of these. It might take me a little while, but I will try to timestamp all these questions because these are great comments. You people have been given. These are awesome. But so if you guys have any questions about anything, the easiest way to find me is in the comments section on the YouTube channel. I get notifications for the comments, and I usually try to check them a few times a day. I don't check Instagram all that often, besides like checking with my buddies. And Twitter, I'm barely ever on. It's just people arguing. So I tend to not go on Twitter as much. So it's going to be harder to find me there. Plus, Instagram and Twitter filter out comments. They filter out messages. So I missed a message from New Balance one time, like trying to talk to me about the Lav V2. So and I kind of had to like say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, please, I want to see the shoe. So the best way to get a hold of me is in the YouTube comment section. I do have some filtered words there. So if you want to get a hold of me, make sure the language is clean. Because I do have filtered words in there. So that'd be the only reason I wouldn't see your comment. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me on Instagram, it might take me a while, just because a lot of times it just filters out the comments. So if you guys have more questions about this stream, just get it from Patrick. I got the Vapor Pros on your suggestion. Love them so far. Let me know how they go for you long term, Patrick. I'd love to know kind of what they do for you kind of in the long run, because I think that the one downside about any of the Vapor lines is it's just not going to last as long. I'm putting out great cut. Yeah, thank you very much. And safe travels. Yeah, Santiago, thank you. Yeah, my wife and I were one of the first people to get vaccinated here in the United States back in December. We were like the guinea pig doctors. And as soon as we did, we booked a trip to Disney. So we were one of the people that actually got a spot at Disney. So we're going down there. We're doing a few days there. But I still have videos that are scheduled to release during that week. So I have a few videos coming out. So I'll still have my phone on me, so I'll still be able to answer questions. But yeah, we'll be down there. Maybe I'll post some content just in the community feed while I'm down there. Patrick coming from ASICS Quartz Speed FF, can't find them anywhere, so I jumped to Nike. Yeah, ASICS has they'll I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like the beginning part of 2021, you couldn't find the Cord FF2 anywhere, because I have all these videos recommending the Cord FF2. And then all of a sudden you couldn't find it. I'm getting all this hate mail saying I can't find them anywhere. Why would you tell me to get these? And all of a sudden, as soon as I'm like getting like annoyed, like thinking like, oh, they'll be in stock. They'll be in stock. All of a sudden, ASICS just releases like 30 colorways of them now. Like that blue Mako is like a really cool colorway. I want to get a pair of those just to maybe like put back here with Andy's shoe back here. In my there's Andy's shoe here, and then there's my NCAA coin that I got for playing NCAA. So yeah, the ASICS Cord FF2 is pretty cool. But yeah, ASICS does that. They'll let their stock go like all the way down, and all of a sudden there'll be a huge dump. You are Wear Testers are the best for my basketball and tennis needs. Yeah, me and Wear. Yeah, Wear Testers is a great channel. I probably shouldn't say this. I'm probably going to lose subscribers. I didn't know who Wear Testers was until about like 3 months ago, because everyone was saying in my GP in the what was it, best shoes for outdoor basketball video. They were all telling me, oh, you copied from Wear Testers, or oh, like you agreed with Wear Testers. I'm like, who's Wear Testers? Because I know who Geronmon is. If you guys want to look for a really, really good YouTube channel, just for cinematic looks at shoes, look at Geronmon. It's all spelled one word. He does all basketball shoes. He has awesome cinematic shots of basketball shoes. But I was looking through his stuff, and people were talking about Wear Testers on his channel too. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Let's look at. And then I saw, and then it's just one of the biggest channels out there for shoes, and they do such good content. And with Wear Testers, what I like with Wear Testers is he has an accompanying website with like these great stats on the shoes. I mean, things like things I'd want to do for tennis and basketball, running, whatever shoes I'm doing at the time. But I mean, you got to have a team to do that. And so he does a great job of cataloging shoes and giving great recommendations. So yeah, Wear Testers is an absolutely awesome channel. But just since, the 21 people that are still here at the end of the video and who's ever still watching this, whoever decided to watch me for an hour and 18 minutes on the replay, I will be doing some expansion of the shoes that I'm reviewing on the channel. I will be going still, I'm a tennis player by trade. So, I'm going to be doing a lot of tennis, but I do want to start doing things like paddle, more pickleball, basketball. I did some running reviews. They haven't gotten as much traction as tennis, but they are sometimes, if you're a real hardcore runner, you don't really care about the tennis shoes and similar, but I will be doing some more of that type of content as well. I have a pair of soap shoes in my garage, like the old grinding shoes. I want to do a review on those. So I'm going to be expanding a little bit of the stuff I do. So make sure you guys watch out for that. So, all right. Hope you guys all have and gals and ladies, have a great day, great night, wherever in the world you're tuning in from. This has been a lot of fun. If you want to see more live streams, leave me a comment in the comment section of this video, just letting me know what you want me to talk about on the live streams. There are so many things that there goes into with sports medicine, and feet and basketball and your legs. I mean, that's why I got into foot and ankle. That's why I got into podiatry. I loved shoes. I loved shoe technology, and more, I loved orthotic technology and sports medicine. So if there's any topic you want me to cover in a live stream, you kind of want to just have a back and forth with conversation about, just make sure you're leaving the comment section down below. I'd like to do these at least maybe monthly. Now that I've actually figured out how to live stream, it took me a while to figure out. This is actually being streamed through my the camera on my phone, Wi-Fi'd into my laptop, because I didn't want to buy all the equipment to do it. So if there's a topic you want, just leave me a comment down below. As I'm sure the people that leave me comments a lot know, I really try to stay up to date on the comments and respond to them. And take your advice. And also just coming up videos, I have some Nike foam videos, some Asics foam videos, and some head-to-heads on basketball and tennis shoes. I got some great recommendations from the community in the comments, so make sure you look out for those too. Please say this video. Yeah, this video is going to be made for the replay. It probably won't premiere for a few hours once the HD version is coming out, because this has been an hour and 20 minutes. I thought I was going to do this for like 25 minutes. I didn't think anybody would come into it. But yes, this will definitely be available. And once I get the opportunity, I will timestamp this. I might actually just pay a digital assistant to timestamp this, because this is going to be a lot of timestamping, just so you can kind of go in like, oh, I had a question about this and he answered it, but he talked too fast. Because that's what everyone says. I always talk too fast. By the way, I'm trying to talk slower in my videos. This is just how I talk. So my wife always yells at me for it too. So she was bringing it back. I had a pair that my mother threw away, because they were just sitting at my parents' house that she threw away a few years ago, and I wanted to take pictures of them for my Instagram channel. And I got so mad, so I actually had to go buy them on eBay again. So, all right, everybody. So have a great night. And like I said, this broadcast will be available for the replay. And I will see you all next time. And like I said, I know I'm like a broken record, but if you have an idea for another live stream that you want me to cover, just leave it down below. All right. See you next time. Peace.